Thanks for staying with us, and apologies for that break in transmission right there, but that's our offering when it comes to the newspaper review segment. It's now time to delve into the discussion of the day. Homeschooling is a progressive movement around the country and the world in which parents educate their children at home instead of sending them to a traditional public or private school. Families choose to homeschool for a variety of reasons, including dissatisfaction with the educational options available, different religious or educational philosophies, and the belief that children are not progressing within the traditional school structure. Now, joining us to discuss homeschooling is Salome Olajide Buhari, a children educator, etiquette and manners consultant who joins us via Zoom. Salome Olajide Buhari, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning once again.
Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. So let's talk about homeschooling. What are some of the things to consider before considering homeschooling for your child?
Your desires. What do you want in your child? What do you want to achieve in your child? And how long do you have? How long do you have to homeschool your child? Do you want to do it for the first 5 years, or do you want to...
All right. So, okay, there seems to be some audio disconnect there. But looking at homeschooling, you know, during the COVID-19 pandemic, it was the in thing.
Yes.
Everyone around the world, you know, opted for the virtual learning option because there was no way for students to go to school to, you know, because there was no need for mixing and all of that, so that the...
Social distancing.
Yes, physical distancing. You know, so there was a lot of homeschooling and all of that. But, you know, this has its pros.
I think we have her back on the line.
Salome.
Yes, please.
Please,
Okay.
you have the floor. Kindly shoot.
All right. I was saying that it depends on a lot of factors. For me, I desired it even before I got married, that I was going to homeschool my children. As an educator, I have seen the benefit that are inherent in homeschooling, and I wanted it. So for other parents that might be considering homeschooling, the options are: what are your desires for your child? What do you hope to achieve in the first 5 years of your child? You are not just going to homeschooling because it's an option that gives you a level of freedom. You are going to know the hitches and know how to go about. You need to know what you're doing if you choose the option of homeschooling. Are we together?
Yes, apparently it's not something you just jump on and say, I want to homeschool my child. You are an educator, and of course that gives you an advantage to do that. But what about parents who do not have that background of, you know, passing down knowledge when it comes to formal education to their children? What are the options available to them?
Well, I think a parent that is actually desirous of this homeschooling option will arm herself or himself with information that is necessary. For instance, I have had an opportunity to coach some parents in my homeschooling course, and I take them through the rubrics of teaching. Even teachers in schools, not all of them really know how children learn. So if you're a parent and you get exposed to the information that would make you know how to reach the heart and mind of your child, then homeschooling is an option for you. It's not a tedious task. It's not something that somebody that is not an educator cannot do. It's just knowing what to do at the right time and how to seize moments here and there to teach your child.
Okay, let me take you on this, that those who oppose homeschooling, saying that it doesn't encourage, you know, social development of the child because the child can mix with his or her peers, you know, like your traditional schooling would give the child. Do you subscribe to that as well? Or how do you grow, in the course of homeschooling, how do you grow the child to be able to mix and relate with peers when they're the only ones, you know, at home schooling?
Okay, there are different sides to this.
Okay.
It might be true for some families that there is a social impediment when it comes to homeschooling if the child is not exposed to other children. Okay?
Yep.
For my own case, it's not like that. I have opportunities where my child mixes up with other children.
Okay.
He's a very outgoing person, and compared to those comments about homeschooling, it's not true for us.
Okay, but
and for some families,
yes,
if you know that there are no opportunities to expose your child to other children, you can make a day in a week to go to a park where the child can play with other children, or go to a school. You can make an arrangement with a school where your
Okay.
child can mix up with other children for social behavior and the like. So yes.
Okay, let me just further this discussion in that line. You said your child is outgoing, yes, but we know children, no two child rather is the same in that sense. That those
Yeah.
that children who are extremely, introverts, if you want to call them that, at that young age, that even as a parent who spends more time with them, you really have to like push them before they even open up. Such children now, do you think homeschooling will still be the best for them in terms of that social impediments we're trying to take off?
I would also say it depends on the parents. If you know the type of child that you have, you would know the option to go for. And if you are sticking with homeschooling and your child has such a behavior of being withdrawn or being or say the self-esteem is low, you will have other ways to work around it. Yeah.
So why is it important within the first 5 years, or is there a particular or peculiar reason to that time duration?
Yes. The first 5 years are critical in the brain development of the child. So yes, in as much as the brain still develops after 5, the major part of the brain develops between 0 and 5 years. So you want to make the most of that time to lay it's just like you're building a house. You're building a house, you have utmost focus on the foundation, because you know that the authenticity and the quality of the foundation is going to determine the longevity and duration or the quality of the entire building. So the first 5 years, you're laying plank for the success of the child entirely.
Okay,
right.
but with the current state of the economy and the fact that it's both father and mother that work to put bread on the table, it's no longer the system of the father brings bread to the table and then the mother keeps the home front. Whose responsibility is it to train these children or to homeschool them?
It's the both parents. Both parents are responsible. In my case, I and my husband are responsible for training our children. Well, it might be more on my part, but I'm also working. It depends on knowing what works for you. You might not have an 8 to 5 outline like the traditional school. You have a focus for the week. You know what you're learning this week, and then you look for moments where you can teach all of that. So it depends on who is available. There must be someone available. You cannot do homeschooling and say there's nobody available to teach the child. That would be a punishment. And the other, yes.
Okay. In furtherance to what my colleague asked, looking at, as she said, you have a city like Lagos, for example. Even when the parents probably work half a day, they probably still have to get home, late due to traffic congestion. So they probably get home like 5, 6, they're tired from the day's, activities. How many hours can they now, train that child in that sense in terms of schooling? Because adequately for homeschooling, there should be a reasonable amount of time spent on the child per day. I don't know how many hours. You are the professional, so you probably help us with that.
Well, if the parents do not have time for the children, there's no need for homeschooling. Yes. If the two parents are going out to work every day and coming back in the evening, there's no need to homeschool. You're going to be punishing the child. You're not going to have time for that child. So a child that is being homeschooled would have at least a parent in the house. Even if the parent is working from home, then that is more flexible than the two parents going out and coming out in the evening and say they are homeschooling. That's not homeschooling. The presence is needed. Yes.
Okay. Talking about homeschooling and the physical presence especially, how many hours per day for homeschooling on the average?
It's here and there. It's here and there. It's not like you're going to sit down and say we have 1 hour. Something else you are supposed to pay attention to, the attention span of your child. The attention span of your child will determine how long you can sit through a lesson. The trick here is you have a focus for the week. This and this is what you want to cover this week. So today I can have 15 minutes now for a short session. We go on to do another activity. We come back for another 10 minutes on another topic. We go out maybe to eat or to do something else, to play. We'll come back. It's just even in those play sessions during bath time, we emphasize what we're learning. So it's all a learning environment.
Okay.
Every moment in the home is a teachable moment, is a seizable moment for education, for homeschooling.
Are there training platforms or places where parents can go to get some of this?
Connection. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Salome? Okay, I think there's a disconnect that we'll fix that and get back to the conversation. But I was going to talk about the training platforms, if there are training platforms for these parents, because not every parent understands the nitty-gritty of training a child, of, you know, a 1-year-old or 2-year-old child.
She's back.
Yes.
Yes, you know, Salome, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
As you were saying, these are the formative years of these children, and not every parent, you might even be able to pass the knowledge, but do you understand how these children pick up things, their peculiarities? You know, so you need some certain skills to get all of this. Are there training platforms? Are there places where parents can go to understand some of these intricacies?
During the COVID pandemic, I had an online course for parents tagged Bringing Out the Genius in Your Child through homeschooling. And I trained several parents on homeschooling. So if a parent is interested in homeschooling, I'm sure the parent is going to look out for ways to empower himself, to equip himself with the necessary know-hows of homeschooling. But so I would say that research, you have to do your research, you have to have a teachable heart to want to learn how to really do this. Because if you have the desire, then you should have something driving you to want to learn to do it. No man is an island. So in as much as you, even if you're a teacher, you still need to know how to go about teaching those things to those children. There are peculiar ways that children learn.
Yes, but you know, sorry to butt in, Salome. Yeah. There's the psychology of the school environment. The fact that it's, you know, a working environment, all you know, they're agile, the energy is up, but you're at home. The room is just close by, the bed is right there, the kitchen is there, you want to eat, you want to just, you know, lavish and all of that. How do you maintain that discipline and drawing the line, saying, no, Junior, you're not going there, sit down here? You know, I think it's easier when you come to the school, the four walls of a school environment, but in the home, how do you maintain that discipline?
Okay, I understand that. When it's time for learning, when it's time for that proper sit-up, we have a corner. We have a corner where we call school, although, of course, schooling is all over the house. But we have a corner where we call school. So we have a table, we have a chair, we have a shelf where we have his books and my books. So there is a level of discipline when it comes to doing our work. Now, on the area of discipline, there could come a time when he wants to do something else because he's at home.
Exactly.
And sometimes I allow him. If I notice boredom, if I notice that maybe he has stayed too long on that activity, so he's looking for a way to express himself, and it's fine. I give him a little time, and then we come back to it. The focus is to make sure the target for the day is met, right? So it's not one boring session of sit down for 40 minutes. It's a session of, even if it's 10 minutes, that time that you have you put in all the energy to make sure that he has understood that particular lesson for that period of time? Okay. So yes, discipline. The parent has to ensure discipline as regards homeschooling.
Okay, still talking about discipline. There are parents who have said they've tried every means possible, but their words are not listening to them. Probably due to the cordial relationship, they listen more to their teachers, if there's one, in terms of, your traditional four walls of the school. You've had parents even complain about that when they want to do homework, little things like homework. Now, for homeschooling, parents that are struggling in that sense to really have a grasp of their kids, probably due to the cordial relationship, the child isn't just listening to mom and all of that. How do you, what measures of, what measures do you think should be put in place to address that? Did you get my question? I think the network is messing up there. But, it's quite interesting, even for children, those who attend the traditional schools, they come back home and homework, it's like they're not listening to their parents. It's mommy or it's daddy.
And some of them do the homework because they know that they have to face their teacher the next day.
So sometimes the parents even have to get, is she there? Hello?
No, she's not.
Oh, okay. Sometimes parents even have to get lesson teachers.
Yes, you are, Salome. Can you hear us?
The network isn't friendly, but sometimes parents have to get lesson teachers just for that reason.
Exactly.
Not because they don't have time, but they just know,
familiarity.
Familiarity and all. So I would really like her to, tell us how to address that as well, because for homeschooling, you're spending more time with the child. If the child is not listening, you make use of the carrot and stick approach. It's still not working. Something has to work.
And then you don't want to use corporal punishment.
Salome, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
Can you hear
okay.
me?
Yes, I can now. My question is this: for children who, probably due to the cordial relationship between them and their parents, find it difficult to listen to their parents, how do parents in that, situation instill discipline? What measures will they take to ensure that discipline is enacted within homeschooling?
Okay, I'll say what works for me, right?
Yep.
I know when I have to be firm as regards a decision.
Okay.
You can be firm without shouting. You can be firm without beating or without corporal punishment. There's a way you can get across to the child. In parenting, there's what we call discipline strategies. You need to know the strategy that works for your child. For some, it is withdrawing a reward or withdrawing something that the child is supposed to enjoy. Okay, if you don't do this, you're not going to do this. Sometimes I have some apps. I have a reading app on my phone called Reading Eggs, and my son loves it a lot. I have another educational app, Adapted Minds. So I tell him, if you do not finish this before 12 o'clock, there's no Adapted Mind for you today. There's no Reading Eggs for you today. And you see him asking, what am I learning today? What am I doing today? So that he can get time with his Reading Eggs and with his Adapted Mind. So it depends on what works for the child. But the basic parenting tool for discipline is connection. If you connect with a child, yes. If you connect with a child, you know how to get across to the child, even when the child is being lazy or yes.
You sound like you don't really buy the idea of corporal punishment, but it's what's obtainable in some schools. Of course, we know that it's been eradicated in some private schools, but some schools still adopt corporal punishment. What's your take on that?